Well, it's the night before tax day, and all throughout every house, many a filer are coming to discover they owe more than they thought. And if you're an Obamacare enrollee, let's just say for some of you, a lot more than you thought. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And just call it the eve that's giving a lot of Americans heaves. More than half of those who signed up for the Affordable Care Act are discovering that it is not so affordable, and those subsidies they thought they had coming are not coming. To South Dakota Republican Congresswoman Noem, who says this isn't just the latest example of tax and spend, more like bait and switch. Congresswoman, welcome. It's always good to have you. What do you make of this? Because this is surprising a lot of folks.
Well, Neil, this is another example why people should be able to make their own health care decisions. They know what they need and they know what they can afford. And there's one study that came out that said almost half of the people who receive subsidies will now have to pay those back because at some point during the year their income changed, they maybe got a raise, income that they didn't figure when they filled out the forms and enrolled, and now it's going to hurt them in the long run. They'll have to pay that money back to the federal government, and that's not something they're planning on doing.
Now, if the Supreme Court were to essentially say that these subsidies make no sense, and legally the whole way that this is financially supported makes no sense, then the administration comes back and says, Congresswoman, then millions of people are going to be without health insurance, and they're pointing the finger at you guys, at Republicans. What do you do, or what do you plan in that event to help those folks out?
Well, that's a very real possibility, Neil. In my state of South Dakota, we did not set up a state-run exchange. So the people that signed up in South Dakota bought it through the federal exchange, and they are some of those individuals that could lose their health care coverage that they have right now through that exchange. You know, we have a plan that we are coming forward with what we think should be a good mechanism that would tie over that gap that we need to make sure that those individuals who signed up on Obamacare have some kind of a bridge in place so that they aren't left with no insurance at all. That would be another hardship on them that they simply can't sustain after all the trauma that we've been through trying to deal with this law and make it work for individuals.
Now, in the meantime, there's a friction with the administration over how to proceed, not only on this, but a host of other issues, that Iran agreement that there's a great division over, that the president might be bypassing Congress. Do you suspect that we're looking at a very heated, divided, nasty spring and summer on Capitol Hill?
We could, but what we really need is a president to come together with some solutions and actually sit down at the table and talk about how we can work together. Iran is a very big concern for many of us, and this agreement isn't the one that we need today. We need one that certainly not only make sure that their nuclear program can't go forward, but that also they don't have the missile system intact, that they could deliver weapons into the future. So we have to have conversations about this to make sure that we're safe, that the world is safe. If the president would come to Congress, have a dialogue that certainly is beneficial, we could get some agreement and make sure we have progress.
You know, Congresswoman, by my math, you are the only one, I think, not running or planning to run for president.
That is true.
And it seemed like we're going to have maybe upwards of a dozen, maybe 2 dozen Republican candidates. The one making the latest news today is Chris Christie, who has complete revamping of Social Security, means testing, phasing it out for those who make over $85,000. What do you think of that, and essentially gutting Social Security as we know it as a plan? What do you think?
Well, some of the best things about campaigns and elections is the dialogue and the good ideas that rise to the top. So I'm sure that throughout this presidential election, we'll have lots of different ideas thrown out there. You know, I really, truly believe that we have many senior citizens that have been counting on Social Security and paying into that program over the years. We need to honor our commitments to them, but still make some reforms.
I'm sorry, what age do you cut it off or change it or grandfather it in? I mean, there's some talk that maybe for those 55 and over, for those 50 and over, where do you put it?
Oh, that's been some of the suggestions up here on Capitol Hill, is that we have to give at least 9-10 years out there for them to plan, to know that some of those payments may be different
You
than
say
what
9
they were
or
expecting.
10 years. Just personally, could you make it about 15 or no? It's not.
Oh, you know, Neil, there's lots of different proposals, so I'm not going to go out there and embrace one today.
Okay.
I will tell you that I will make the votes necessary to make sure that Social Security is around in the future. I've got a mom and grandparents that certainly rely on that program, and they've been planning on it and paying into that program for many, many years. So I'm going to make sure that we make wise decisions on Capitol Hill, that it will keep it and protect it into the future.
Congresswoman, always a pleasure.